Hello, I'm David Frangioni, and welcome to another edition of the Modern Drummer Podcast. And today, very special guest, Mario Duplantier. Mario, welcome.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here today. There's so much to cover with Gojira. Let's start at the beginning of your drum journey. Mm-hmm. When you're French, right? So did you grow up in France?
Yeah, I was born in France. I grew up in France. Sorry.
And when did you start playing the drums?
I was 11 years old. So now I'm 43 already. So a long time ago, but not like many drummers who start playing drums like at 3 years old. It kind of came a bit late. You know, I was really into sport, not really into music. But then one day I saw a video of Metallica and I just couldn't believe it. It was like a real shock. At this time we had no internet, nothing. So it was just a cassette, a VHS cassette that my brother, who was really into music, got for Christmas, and he played that show, and I was just playing with my soccer ball in the garden, and I entered the room and I saw this and I couldn't believe it. I was like, what is that? A shock, a real shock. And I right away I wanted to go deeper on that thing, and started to listen to Metallica, and I felt like the connection with the drums was like a direct connection with the drums. So 6 months after that, I started to play drums.
Wow, I mean that's a real moment of inspiration.
Yeah,
have it
huge
be like
moment.
that literal.
Yeah,
wow.
Exactly.
And so when you go to play drums, how do you start playing? Like, where do you get the sticks? And I mean, because you're 11, 12 years old, you're very young. So your parents were supportive.
Yeah, so my mom was very supportive. So the funny thing is my mom was American, my dad was French. So my mom grew up in Madison, Wisconsin. She was born in Madison, Wisconsin. She grew up in LA. She traveled to France, met my dad, and never left France. So she got married, had 3 kids. But she has this American mentality where you push people. You're very. It's really, there is an uplifting thing about the education here in America. What I do like a lot, because in the context we were growing up in the southwest of France, where there were not really a lot of. It was not a cultural place. Music didn't really exist at this time. No art shows. It was all about the ocean and the mountains. So it was really like you do sport and that's it. And my mom was a very different mom, you know, and she said, "Do you want to play drums?" I said, "Yeah, mom." She said, "Let's go buy drums right now." So
wow,
she was awesome. Really, really an awesome mother. When my dad was a bit skeptical, he said, "Yeah, I don't know, you know." But my mom, for her, there were no doubts. She felt something, and she really encouraged me, and she encouraged my brother. And I want to say thank you to my mom. She passed away a few years ago, but it's Gojira. It's all about this raw energy from our mom. She was so supportive. So yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. And
I don't know why I said all that.
No,
you know,
but it's beautiful and it's true, and that's huge. I mean, she literally, her support of your passion literally shaped your entire life.
Absolutely.
Forever.
100%.
I mean, it's one thing to be supportive. She shaped it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really
and for
powerful.
her, there were no doubt. Like, if you want to be a good drummer, you need good gear as well. So I'm ready to help you with that. So she really understood the
process.
And also she had a feeling, because she knew us very well, and she felt like we were real. It was not like a little hobby. She felt a passion with my brother and I, and she really felt it because the connection was strong, and so she pushed for it. So when does Gojira begin? So I was 14 years old when Gojira started. So it was 3 years after that, and so then after Metallica, I was fascinated about something more extreme, and I jumped right away into death metal.
Death metal.
Yeah, I was really fascinated about the technical aspect and the darkness into the music and all that, and it became a real passion. And
you're on double bass by now.
Yeah,
14
exactly.
years old. Okay.
14 years old, and my brother and I, we started Gojira. I was 14 years old, and it was all by ears. At this time, I didn't take any drum lesson. It was just like listening to albums and trying to reproduce. That's it. So. And then I found a teacher 2 days after the beginning of Gojira, a jazz teacher. There is this school in France called Agostini. It's like a method of learning drums and all that. So there is many schools in different big cities, and I found a teacher in my small kind of town around, and I took like 8 years of lesson with this guy.
Oh, that's a lot. Okay. And what was he? Was he teaching you like proper technique?
Absolutely.
Don't have too much tension and stickings and those kinds of things.
Stickings, rudiments, how to hold the sticks, how to go crescendo to piano from play crescendo. Like I had no idea before that, So
He
I
was teaching
learned.
you dynamics.
Yeah,
Because
I
death
learned
metal,
a lot.
not a lot of dynamics.
If you listen to the album Human from Death was my biggest reference at that time. There is this drummer called Sean Reinhardt, who his teacher was Vinny Colaiuta or something
Sure.
like that.
Yeah, okay.
So this drummer, Sean Reinhardt, for me, set the bar so high, and he has this jazz approach into it. If you listen to that album, Human, I really recommend it. You will be blown away. It's truly magical. It's a mix between crazy drumming, extremely fast and intense, and also this jazz approach, and the ways playing with the rhythm cymbals stayed forever in my own identity as a drummer.
And were you so inspired by that you were learning some of that as well to apply it to your own playing?
Yeah,
What
absolutely.
you heard on that record?
I ripped off. We say
Yeah.
a lot of these in my playing.
So
a
when
lot of
something's
this album.
that hard to play, just by learning it, you take your playing to another level. Because
Yeah,
you don't
exactly.
want to literally play the same thing necessarily in your songs, but learning certain things that are so challenging, it applies to 20 other things you try that are variations
Yes.
from that learning. And it
Yeah.
sounds like this album was that profound on you.
Absolutely, yeah. Open a new dimension for me, a very precious dimension. Yeah.
Thank you for watching and supporting everything Modern Drummer is up to. Hit the subscribe button down below. It means so much to us because we can keep bringing you the best drummers and content all the time. And please check out our shop. We've got Legends books. We've got back issues. We've got swag. Everything the drumming community could want. And it's so exciting to have you guys be the best part of it. Once again, thank you, and enjoy the rest of the video. So through the years of Gojira, it's steady. Like when I look at your band and your evolution, you guys, it's like just constantly going, like just moving forward, working hard, creating, and just what has it been like from from being it's your band? Like what has it really been like? That's what it looks like as a fan.
Yeah.
Like, this band just is just constantly steady.
Yeah.
And that's a very hard thing for a band to maintain.
You're right. It's a long journey and a lot of ups and downs. We had good moments, bad moments, but we all sacrifices a bit of our time and life, and we had a lot of doubt when we started the band because we quit our jobs, we quit studies, and we just sacrificed everything.
You
for
were
music.
all in.
Yeah, but the four of us, that's a common point. We just like stopped working. We did stop everything just to focus on the band. So we had no cars and no money, nothing. We had a good, I would say, 10 years like totally broke. But just the face, we had this craziness inside us. We believed the faith. Yeah, we believed in it, and some of people around us said they're fucking crazy. What are they doing? They sacrifice everything for that. What are they doing? Especially in France, because there is not that many French bands, Mm-hmm. But then you have to understand that in French we also have a government that give money to artists. So at some point we were able to have a bit of money from the government to try to make it as a musician. That's a good part of France. Yeah.
Okay.
We put a lot of they put a lot of effort in the culture in the garage. It's really a French thing. So at some point we were like a small band, but we got money from the government just to be able to do our
function.
Yeah, exactly.
What was the first major turning point when things went from broke and 4 believers and faith plus your mom, so 5 believers, and to like more audience recognition and career progress? What was that first big break or turning point?
There is a lot of key moments, so many of them. So it's hard for me to really pick one because there is a lot because it's been like 30 years together, you know. So
Right.
so the key moments, if I have to pick one, I would say when we dropped the third album from Master Series, became kind of a reference in this genre, and we had the support from many different big stars of the genre. So we played that festival in the UK, Download Festival, front of 20,000 people, and that was a key moment because
That was your first time at Download?
yeah,
Okay.
first time in the UK.
Oh, first
And
time in the UK.
directly we were like, I think Mastodon couldn't play, so we played. We got the offer. It's like, do you want to play the same slot as Mastodon? We said, of course, yes. That was a key moment, I would say, because then Metal Hammer, Kerrang, and all that, they started to talk about us a lot. And
What
then,
year are we in now that you play Download for the first time? What year?
2006.
Okay. So that's a big turning point moment.
Big
'cause you
turning
haven't
point.
played in the UK. Download, such an iconic festival.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we did also. Lamb of God invited us in 2007 in the US to play like 50 gigs. So that was also a key moment because going to the US for the first time was a key moment.
And that was the first time with Lamb.
Yeah. I mean,
okay.
we did a tour with Children of Bodom a few months before, but then Randy called us, Randy from Lamb of God.
Randy
He said,
Black.
I want Gojira. I want Gojira. There is no... So we did that massive tour in the US. That was a big
fantastic.
moment. And then Metallica one day called our management and said, we want Gojira opening for us in the US. So it was back in 2009 for the entire US run. And we're like what's going on?
So your two times in the US are Lamb of God and Metallica, your first two times in the US.
No, actually, Children of Bodom was the first tour in the US. Second one was, Lamb of God. Then we did a small headline tour with small clubs. And then, I mean, we did like 4 or 5 tours before Metallica handpicked us. Right. But the fact Metallica got interested in the band was a big moment because then Europe like react to this. Like they got like handpicked by Metallica. And so the profile grew a lot way faster because of Metallica.
Well, and for you, when we first started speaking today, that's the band that was responsible for inspiring you.
Absolutely.
And now in 2009, you're touring with them.
Yeah.
How did that feel?
I mean, I have no words. You know, it's very emotional because it's very personal. Some people grew up like listening to the Stones, or I literally grew up listening to Metallica, and Lars was my biggest influence, my biggest ever.
And Lars playing.
Yeah. And his attitude on stage, I thought it was so entertaining and funny and crazy. And as a kid, I was like, oh my God. Also, we grew up in France, and France, you know, the way people behave is different. The way people entertain is different. And seeing this American, you know, way of entertaining is for us, it's so fascinating, you know. I met Lars, and we became friends, and they really enjoyed having us on tour. So they invited us in Russia, Estonia, Lithuania, Norway. So we did a full world tour with them.
So it went from an invitation to tour the States to the whole world.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's a huge...
2 stadium in Russia in a row. 2 of them. Russia this time. Hard to believe.
Amazing. And do you still keep in touch with Lars?
Yeah, we became friends. I mean, friends is not really like the word, but
As
we are
friendly
very...
as we can be in our schedules,
Exactly.
right?
Also, we have a lot of respect for them, so we also keep distance because we don't want to be that guy who like forcing anything. But every time we meet them, there is something natural, organic. I'm a very good friend with Robert, the bass player, because he's going in vacation with his French wife in Biarritz, where I'm living, and we surf together all the time every summer. So he's such a nice person.
Yeah, Robert Trujillo. He's a great guy.
No, he's a great guy.
He is. So back up for a second. When did you get a manager? Right, because you mentioned our manager kind of did some of this. When did that happen? In the 10 years of struggling.
I would say the key. We were talking about key moments. Mm-hmm. We had a French manager who did an amazing job in France. His name is Richard Gamba, and I want to thank him a lot. for what it does for 10 years in France. And in France, we became a very established band before playing UK for the first time. So France is a very important country for us. But then the second management we got was the Slayer, Ghost, Mastodon management with RRC, Rick Sales Entertainment
Rick
Management.
Sales, sure, of course.
So they signed the band in 2011, and that's another key moment because.
Are you still with Rick Sales?
Yeah.
Okay, so what? Yeah, so tell us about that moment.
Yeah, so 2011, they wanted to sign us, and they put us with Slayer, touring with Slayer all over the world, everywhere, and it was finally the moment for us to play all the metal festivals we wanted to play. To really get part of this metal world for good.
What year does the band start? What's the year that
1996.
So Gojira is born 1996.
Yeah.
Okay. And 2006 you play Download.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the 10 years.
Took us a good 10 years.
Right. Okay.
You have to understand that we are French. So at first it was like a pain in the ass. Like, you're French? There is no French culture. Like, there is no rock in France. There is no metal band. We don't play rock on the radio. So we were like freaks. And even the first time we played in the US, people were laughing. You from France? It's the first time ever I hear that you're a French band. So... And then 30 years after, it became kind of a force, like, because it's exotic coming from France. Now it's kind of
It's cool, right? That's an interesting point. How do you build an audience when there is no audience? It reminds me of, like, there's this old saying, stories that people talk about opportunity, and they say two guys who sell shoes end up on a train in a city where nobody has shoes, and one guy phones his wife and says, I'm coming home, nobody's wearing shoes here. And the other guy phones his wife and says, move here now. It's the greatest opportunity I've ever found. Everybody needs shoes here.
Yeah.
And so you're here in France and there's no audience because there's no band to fuel the audience. How'd you do it? And how'd you stay strong in the mind while maybe 10 people show up at your first few gigs?
Yeah, you're right. But that's crazy. But I think people love metal in France, but it's just that the media, the radio, and all that, they never play rock. Never. There is no. You guys have the Grammy Awards, and you have a metal thing. In France, we don't even have a rock category on the music. Wow. Can you imagine? There is no rock category.
What's the primary music?
It's people singing French and
so it's like French folk music.
It's French folk music, kind of. Yeah, there is no rock category. Crazy. So we've been nominated for the Grammys 3 times. We've never been nominated in France. But then I'm talking about everything now, but now I can make a strong link with what just happened in France with the Olympic ceremony.
And I'm getting to that.
Yeah, yes. Exactly.
Because that is to talk about a moment. I don't know how I could overstate the importance and the magnitude of what just occurred. As we're filming this, the Olympics was a couple of months ago, but I'm gonna get there because that's the payoff.
Sorry,
I'm gonna fist pump you on that one. That's the payoff, man. I mean, Jesus, you talk about a moment. So we're gonna get to that. So back to the beginning, though, the opposite of what you just experienced, where you just literally impacted the entire world a couple of months ago. But when you were impacting your friends and family only, what was how did you guys stay with so much faith? Because you talked about that at the beginning. You said faith is what got us to today. And it's really tested. That faith is tested when you're starting a band, even in a very culturally active environment. But when you're playing a music and it's funny because Metallica kind of started a similar way too. When you look at their journey, when they came on the scene, nobody sounded like Metallica. Nobody was that heavy, and it was kind of like Black Sabbath, 3.0, if you want to look at like the history of metal and hard rock. And you guys are almost in a similar situation because you're in a country that just is not exposed to it. And there's no streaming at that time.
Yeah.
So if you're not buying CDs or records, you're not hearing the music.
But I would say the underground was still very hot. Like we were playing bars and small clubs, and it was always full. So we had also a
Okay.
lot
So it was
of
a
people.
passionate-
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, people were
Small but passionate.
exactly, and people were talking about us all the time. So we got like an offer to play in Bordeaux, which was 2 hours north, in a bar. The bar was full, and then once we had a metal festival in Paris, and we stole the show. So we built a reputation like
Right.
this slowly but surely,
Right.
with no attention from the big medias and all that.
I
But
see.
the underground was like incredibly
buzzing.
rich and buzzing all the time. So it's why we kept face. And also having my brother, it was a family thing. My brother and I were like just obsessed, perfectionist, and we didn't care what people were saying. We're just like, we know we will make it one day. We know it.
And having your brother as the singer, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
that's a big,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
the front of the band. And that's
Yes.
the person that you're counting on
Absolutely.
on so many levels with a band.
Yes.
It's one of the reasons that I'm sitting here with you as a music business technologist and not sitting with you as a fellow drummer in another
Yeah.
band that is co-headlining. Because when I was starting out, my brother wasn't in a band with me. And so all the lead singers kept quitting.
Yeah.
And so I ended up basically going, wait a second, we get to this point and then the band implodes, and then
Yeah,
you get to
yeah.
this point and the band implodes. There was no trust and commitment within the band. And
Exactly.
so the band, your career, you kind of watch the beginning, everything you just did kind of go up in smoke and you start over.
Yeah.
You had the strength, and it sounds like it comes a lot from your parents.
Absolutely.
What's your mother's name? We just lost her, but
her name
I want
was
to pay homage to her.
Patricia.
So
Patty.
Patty, like, just put the seeds in the ground with your
Absolutely.
brother and you that we're
Absolutely.
still seeing the fruits of.
Yeah.
It's just awesome. And so here you are playing the underground. 96, Gojira starts. Now we're in 2024. The biggest moment, maybe without exaggeration, in sports history is this year's Olympics in Paris. Without a doubt, the biggest moment in sports entertainment, besides the Super Bowl halftime show, was the whole entertainment component of the Olympics in Paris. Lady Gaga, the
Celine
Olympians
Dion.
go, Celine Dion at the Eiffel Tower, the boats going down the river. I mean, it will be part of history forever. 100 years from now, when they take highlights of sporting and entertainment, this Olympics will be part of it. It's also one of the most highly rated, billions of people watched. And Gojira plays the Olympics.
The stars were aligned, That's crazy. Yeah.
I mean,
The
when we
fact
think
there is
about
not that many bands, as I said, there were a good chance.
Well, you're being humble, but go on.
No,
You're
but
being
what I
very
mean, it's
humble.
if you think about French band would make it outside of the border, because I think that was also one of the
What's the
thing.
criteria?
Yeah,
Because it's such
they
a massive
wanted
stage.
a band who also is a bit famous outside of France, and there is a list of bands like Phoenix, Daft Punk, Justice, like Gojira, Ayana Kamura, the girl who sing as well. But we are in the top 10 of the band who's like make it outside of France. So, and we were very lucky because there is 2% in the community of the Olympic community. There were 4 guys who worked on the entire ceremony. 2 of them were massive Gojira fan, and I knew that before, 2 years before.
Nice.
1 girl and 1 guy. The guy was his job was to doing the entire audio of the ceremony, and the other person was Daphne Burki, and she's a very famous journalist. She was commenting the ceremony as well on TV in France, and this girl is amazing, so fun, super cool, and she's a massive Gojira fan, and she made it happen. So they called us, do you want to do it? We said yes. Of course. No, we felt very lucky.
They got to do, and you said yes.
No, it's amazing. First of all, we had to write the song because we were not allowed to play a Gojira song So they make an offer. They said, we want to write something for you. So we worked with that guy called Victor, and he played something for us. He was thinking of, and we were not sure. So my brother and I were really involved into it, and we said, yeah, we want to play something that is not too metal, but not too cheesy. I want people to be able to understand, but in the same time, we want double bass. We were like really picking. We need that kind of elements. This. Because we know a lot of people never listen to metal, so we want also to present metal, but not too cliche, not too cheesy. So my brother and I actually came up with all these riffs and all that, and we built something with Victor. And yeah, we had like 1 week of rehearsal in Paris, and
Of
then
the new song.
yeah, of the new song.
And then live, you go.
Yeah, exactly.
And it went well. I mean, it
Super well.
Looked great from our standpoint.
Super well.
But it
went
was
super well. Yeah. So, we couldn't believe it. And suddenly we opened the Instagram and we saw 1 million followers and all the streamings, like 280% on Spotify up, like 70% on Deezer. So we understood that something happened for us,
Right.
and we were like, oh my God, it's great. It's great. It's really the boost we were expecting one day, and it's such a good boost for a band. So we are very humble. Like we feel very lucky because the Olympics were in France at that time of our career. Right. At that moment, two guys love Gojira. They called. Yeah. There is how many chances?
Yeah. No, it's
so
the stars
we feel blessed. Like.
But the harder you work, the more the stars align. You've already
Absolutely.
seen that. We've seen that in our lives and careers.
Yeah.
Mario, thank you for being here today. Man,
Thank
what
you.
a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Check out Mario Duplantier on tour with Gojira, of course, and on record, and of course, all the Olympic footage that you'll see. And I can't wait for you guys to see our rundown because we're taking you through Mario's current rig. This drum set is freaking awesome. I love the visual of it, the chrome look. I won't get too far because there's another video with that. We'll see you guys soon. I'm David Frangioni for the Modern Drummer Podcast.